Hey.
Whoa there.
So we're ready to go. So we're going to do another merge roundtable. We are prepared for a show, as you can tell. Actually, we got a lot of stuff to talk about today. We're going to talk about BlackRock, Fidelity. Our old pal Gary Gensler is going to come up in conversation. I guarantee it. There's some stuff about a company called Franklin Templeton. Have you heard of them? You'll find out about it later. And of course, crypto stuff. I've got Mark Shutt. I've got Frank. We got a show. Let's get started. So we knew we were going to do a show all of about 15, 20 minutes ago.
That's the best type of show.
Plus a 10-minute countdown. So yeah.
Yeah,
but we got a lot
going
of
on?
stuff on the agenda today. You brought some stuff. You brought some topics.
I brought some heat. I'm packing the heat today.
Yeah.
Well, you guys hear about this BlackRock ETF for Bitcoin?
I mean, I heard about it. I'm nonplussed because I feel like Charlie Brown with the football. I mean, that's an old reference. I don't know if you get that one, but
I partially do.
Okay. Well, I mean, like the ETF thing, the Bitcoin ETF has been yanked from us so many times. I don't even know if it matters if it's BlackRock or not.
You know what's amazing, and I'm jumping ahead, but just to remember that this is how bad it is. There's literally a company called Grayscale, and they've got a fund that's effectively backed by crypto, and it's trading at like a 75% discount.
Oh, right.
So if you think there really is going to be an ETF, if there is, and they're going to convert that, might be a really great time to actually like put some money to work.
You guys
Not that I'm representing anything, because as a financial advisor, I'm not allowed to.
Not financial advice.
It's not financial advice.
Okay, you guys definitely need to get me in the loop with the legal side of it, or what do you mean by like if it actually happens? But to me, what's interesting is, a couple of years ago, BlackRock CEO Larry Fink, he was, saying Bitcoin is for money laundering, and now a couple of years later, they're announcing a Bitcoin ETF. I mean, if this isn't only market manipulation and, trying to control the population, I don't know what this is, because I don't think there's any interest in it for BlackRock as BlackRock seeing it as a valuable investment. I think there's an interest in, hey, there have been many years and we've seen people are adopting this. It's not going anywhere. And now they want to control it, just like they control everything else. Yeah. Didn't we have this conversation about BlackRock controlling like 99% of, or I think I might have seen it on social media, where BlackRock wants to control like 99% of the assets in the world.
They're on the board of a lot of stuff.
But who doesn't want?
Well, I mean,
that's the difference.
This is a question I want to ask you, because this sounds a lot like what JP Morgan went. So Frank, I was going to ask from the outside. I can only talk from a Bitcoiner's perspective, because we saw the same exact thing where Jamie Dimon was on stage, I think at an All Things D conference, and they were asking him questions like, what are your feelings on Bitcoin?
Yeah.
And he literally says Bitcoin is a scam. And and this is back prior to the big bull run where it goes up to 68. So this is like, where that's not a bizarre opinion for Jamie Dimon to have. But on that particular day, the largest single purchaser of Bitcoin during that conference was JP Morgan. Like it was very clear that was an honest opinion coming out of his mouth, and also he didn't know what the heck his own company was doing.
Absolutely, yeah.
Is this what maybe BlackRock is like, where BlackRock was calling Bitcoin for money launderers, the CEOs calling them for money launderers a couple years ago, and now they're trying to do the ETF?
So the difficulty there is that you have so many conflicting issues, right? With a traditional bank, who's going to be disrupted the most with the technology as is if the U.S. banking system loses the capacity to do the banking, right? So on one side, of course, he has to say that's a horrible idea, right? But on the other side, he also probably doesn't know all the little shadow entities within his organization that really do have and have been tasked to deal with things like this.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. There's always a black box, a little sandbox. This actually brings me to my next topic, or one of our topics, because it's just so great. Fidelity. Fidelity Investments is a private company. It's not traded on the public exchanges. It's owned by private shareholders, from the Johnson family, which is the largest, to individual employees who get shadow stock depending on their job title. So I have been told firsthand that and it's no doubt that like Fidelity Investments absolutely is big into crypto. They love crypto. They've talked about it. They in the middle of the crypto winter, they launched the 401k platform that allowed for crypto. And what they also have soft revealed that they didn't really broadcast publicly, and depending on if any wealth managers actually do follow us on this, here's a little reveal. Sohail actually has it, and he'll probably put it up for us, but Fidelity launched Fidelity Crypto for wealth managers. So for any people like me, financial advisors, who already clear on Fidelity's platform, I don't believe it's available on the retail side. I believe it's only available for advisors like me that are on the cryptos, or that have Wealthscape access. We can apply to now allow our clients to put in cash, and they can buy either Bitcoin or they can buy Ethereum. And then when they want to sell it, they can sell it. They can't transfer in, but it's like super shadow secret. And it may or may not have been the case that they may or may not have had a marketing campaign ready to go when FTX did what he did. So
not financial advice.
Just heard,
but
around the block.
But don't they have like a self-custody auditing solution as well? So if you are retail, you can do that.
That's what I'm saying is they can't. They're not public, so they're not subject to the same rules that like a specific board of directors, what they can and can't do and what they want to work on. They have their own sandbox. It's like Batman, right? It's like he's got all these fun toys that they're never going to use because maybe legislation doesn't let them, but that doesn't mean they haven't developed the technology for it. Gosh, I could talk the whole thing about this event that we went to last week, where I was a guest of the Texas Blockchain Council, and Mark was here with me, and we just learned so much. And it's people like me are challenged because we're not allowed to give our opinion. Like if I like or hate an annuity, there may be a reason for that, but at least I know what it is and I have that opinion. We, generally speaking, don't want to rock the boat because we don't want to get in trouble. So most people like me tend not to get too deep into the periphery until we know we're allowed to talk about it. But to see how many people were in my role that were there, that were very interested in what was going on, was fascinating.
So how do you handle individual investors, and particularly high net worth investors who might be interested in crypto? And as a financial advisor, how do you go about that?
That's really great that you're asking me about that. That's a good question. Why don't we talk about that next time? That's how I would answer it. No, we can't.
I
can't even talk about it.
I thought you were telling me that. I was like, hold up.
No, legitimately, we can't. No, it's brutal, but we can't talk about it. Because we don't know if it's a security. If it's a security, it's not a security. It's not covered by my license. I can't do anything about it. So it's a very uncomfortable conversation to have right now, which is, I think, why Rick Edelman has such a big deal in his media presence about trying to educate people like me. He's got his own certification for it.
I mean, it's so great. We need that.
But it's bizarre. Like they've created such a problem for Americans that want to abide by the law. So you can either go the route that I went and play with crypto, and then maybe not follow a rule that you didn't know existed and go to prison for 6 months or a year. Or you can ask your financial advisor, who tells you, I don't want to go to prison for 6 months or a year, so maybe we talk about this next week if they've decided to change their mind on how they want to how they want us to talk about it.
But what's fascinating now is that at least with Fidelity's help, we'll be able to, I'm not going to be able to take the crypto you currently have yet. I mean, maybe at some point it gets to that point once there's clarity on regulation and provenance of the coins, right? That's what a lot of people are worried about. It's like, how am I going to keep something that's on chain that we know went through this wallet, which clearly was used for fraud, right? Because if you want to talk about clarity of where this money went, imagine being able to track every single dollar.
Sure.
Well, that's what we can do.
Well, every dollar is dirty.
Yeah.
We know that because you can you can scrape the dust off of every single dollar and tell you exactly how much cocaine content is in the dust.
Yeah, yeah.
So, it's the same thing with Bitcoin, except it's quite more literal.
Yeah, and so no client, no big firm, no trading institution wants to actually have that on their balance sheet because they
Right.
don't want to have that dirty money that's proved, oh, well, this was used on Epstein Island, right? It was transferred from this IP address. You were clearly there. Right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so it's fascinating. But Fidelity is luckily allowing people to put in cash.
Which assets are they allowing
think
you
just
to
Bitcoin-
custody with them?
Bitcoin for sure,
And
I
Ethereum.
think Ethereum.
And that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's the tricky thing, right? People right now are assuming that Bitcoin and Ethereum are not securities because this is all based on essentially apocryphal information. Because Gary Gensler once gave an on-camera lecture at MIT in which he said Bitcoin and Ethereum are not securities, and also Filecoin is not a security. However, this week, last week, they filed lawsuit against Binance and Coinbase. And in the lawsuit, they mentioned that Filecoin is a security. Mm-hmm. So does that mean Bitcoin and Ethereum are also securities? They're not saying.
They were hammering this guy at the conference who was the chief of cyber and
Talking about
crypto.
Patrick McHenry. I think he's the head of the finance committee or.
No, the guy that was from the SEC. So they kept asking
I wasn't
him.
there.
Oh, you were okay.
That
They
was on
kept
the last
asking him
day.
over and over and over again. What his thoughts were, and did they agree, disagree? And of course, no one's gonna. It's like I can't speak for the SEC,
right.
and I can't speak for my boss's boss.
We're all corrupt anyway.
But it's just a whole lot of wasn't me. That's
but
frustrating.
that's the other thing. Every time Gensler says anything in the media, you notice what Hester Pierce, a commissioner at the SEC, says. Hester Pierce will say everything that guy said is just completely dumb. I can't believe he's saying this stuff.
Yeah.
I of course can't speak for the SEC, but this guy does, and I don't agree with him. Which is insane. There's not even agreement within the SEC.
Well, there's this new bill by the Republicans. I don't have too many details on it, but they're trying to fire Gary Gensler. What a move! I think
first time in U.S. history.
Thank God
that Congress has tried to fire.
That's democracy.
Yeah,
that's democracy.
If they can get it through.
Let's go, America. But yeah, I think this Fidelity move is super great. I mean, 40 million individual clients will now have access to crypto and have the choice whether they want to make that investment, right? It's not like they need to. Yeah. So I think that's a step forward for the entire industry, and hopefully, it's setting a precedence that other companies will follow. So only time will tell. But in any case, this is a great move, and for the entire crypto industry, I mean, I'll speak on the entire behalf of everyone in crypto.
Appreciate it.
Everyone in crypto, the decentralized world. This is awesome. This is good.
So I just want to give a funny plug because I feel like I owe them after I made such a buffoon out of myself.
So funny story. So we're at this conference and we're waiting for our car at valet, and Frank over here is holding this book in his hand, and he's like reading it and looking at it. He's like, wow, like what an interesting book, yada yada yada. And the author was right in front of us. The guy starts talking to us. And Frank's like, yeah, I just picked up this book, man. Like, this is awesome, whatever.
Just stole it off his desk while he wasn't there is what I said.
And I'm like, Frank.
He's
nudging him like, yo, that's him. And I'm like, he's not getting my message. And I'm like, Frank, that's the author. In front of the guy. I'm like, that's him.
And he laughed, and he signed it for him. It was nice.
Yeah, it was a good time.
But it is actually a decent book. I've read the intro. I haven't read the whole thing yet, but it's Crypto Decrypted, Debunking Myths, Understanding Breakthroughs, and Building Foundations for Digital Asset Investing by Jake Ryan and the guy who I met, who was James Diorio. So that book is pretty, take a look at it if you are looking at it as an investment, because so far, so good.
And I think for a lot of investors who are interested in crypto or might have an interest in crypto, it's important to have these myths debunked, right? Because the mainstream media portrays, talk about Gensler, he talks about Ethereum and Bitcoin in so many different angles where no one knows what to believe. So it's important we have this kind of education and that people are continuing to learn and taking the time to actually understand like are these assets and are they actually valuable fundamentally.
Let's talk about an actual use case for a second, because again, we're talking about the currency and we're talking about the security. We're talking about the whatever you want to call the digital asset. But one of the questions that I asked, and I don't remember which one of the bigger firms it was, but do you remember? And if you do remember the name of the firm, let's not say it because I did tell them that I wouldn't out them. But specifically, I asked what the actual transaction cost. Remember, because they were doing on-chain transactions, and
I do.
And they said that it was more or less
negligible, correct?
Yeah, it was like 20x cheaper.
Oh,
by doing the trades, the actual trades that they're doing on their platform, the commissions are like 20 times less than a traditional commission for a security.
So we won't name any names, but it was a big financial institution.
Okay.
And what they had done is they had a traditional way of storing data, right? But once the blockchain was happening, they found a way to take all of their data and store it on a blockchain. And the cost was almost close to nothing. And we're talking about tons of data. I mean, I'm sure millions of, what did they measure in megabytes,
public
gigabytes?
Chain?
It was public. It was a public blockchain, and they said that this is a big financial institution who just merged all of their data onto this blockchain. They said that no matter what, when firms use private blockchains, they will always come back. Eventually, in the long term, they will come back to a public blockchain because it will not make sense otherwise.
Well, what public blockchain were they using where it was that much cheaper to store that data there?
I don't remember the name of the block. Do you remember? Because you knew more of that.
It's a top.
Like a Solana, Polygon, or Ethereum, or...
So it's not Hedera. Is there one with an S?
Solana?
No, not Solana. It's not Solana. It's like a top 50 blockchain.
And the beauty was, when he said it, he was like, when they were doing it
So
originally, we
chose
chose
layer 2 then, right?
No, it was a layer 1, and all this blockchain does is store data. It's just a ledger. It's just a ledger. They don't have smart contracts.
Not Saya?
No. This is gonna bother me.
Yeah,
now.
yeah,
I
yeah.
actually
We'll
do
figure
know.
it out.
Yeah.
We get it. But it was interesting because he did actually bring up the point. The point of the whole situation was he said, look, if you look at anyone's white paper, if they're private, they say that they're going to try to get to public. So why would you even bother? Just jump straight into the public
For sure.
ledger.
I mean, we've had this discussion before. That one viral video that we did, where it's like, you're like, whoa, private blockchains are bad?
Yeah.
Or whatever it was. Yeah.
They are, and I think for a lot of people, when they hear blockchain and private in the same sentence, it's like, whoa, doesn't that defeat the whole purpose? Which, in my opinion, it does, right? Because the whole purpose of the blockchain is to store data in a more efficient and, hopefully in a truly decentralized way. And when it's private, I mean, you're just having one entity control it and do whatever they want with it. It kind of defeats the purpose. And to your point last time, it makes it more inefficient, than traditional methods of. Yeah.
Do you know how many transactions a big firm like that does in a day?
I don't.
A lot. And so I never even thought about thousands. Come on. I mean, Fidelity for a long time was like 5% of the total stock traded on the New York Stock Exchange.
So millions.
Sure. Yeah. So I mean, I don't know where that data goes and how big that is every day, but I know how big my emails are.
Well, it depends on the payload of the data, but I mean, millions of transactions is not. So think about when we talked about what Byzantine fault tolerant was. Remember that thing I did, Bitcoin in a sentence? Remember, blockchain is just a database, right?
Right.
And a block resolution time has less to do with time and less to do with the number of transactions and more to do with the space that those transactions take up. So this is all about the block size debate between BCH, BSV, and Bitcoin and that sort of thing. If you're talking about a block size, is how much data can you put into this time frame?
Right.
Is it 1 megabyte? Is it 10 megabytes? Is it 100? And this is what Taproot enables. This is why the NFTs on the Bitcoin network started to happen, is because they created some ways to side load extra data into those chains so they could actually increase the block size without increasing the number of on-chain transactions, that sort of thing.
Okay.
So, do you want to explain to the viewers how it works with like an actual block and how there's a capacity to the amount of data that could be stored?
Yeah. So, you've got two factors with a blockchain that are like kind of the variables. Like all these blockchains that exist, where I'm not talking about tokens, not talking about like Shiba Inu or Pepe Coin or anything like that, but actual blockchains like Litecoin or Ethereum or Bitcoin.
Let's just stay simple. Bitcoin.
Well, I'm naming a few because when you look at you've got a few variables that exist between blockchain to blockchain.
Right.
One of them is how Turing complete is it? That means how sophisticated are the smart contracts? What type of computations can you do on chain? And then the other variables have to do with what's the block resolution time? How many times how much time elapses between confirmations? So Ethereum is 30 seconds, Bitcoin is 10 minutes.
Right. Yeah, I remember that. That was a big issue that a lot of people had with the machines and paying at the register, right?
Right.
Yeah, got it.
And then the other factor is how big is that block in that time frame?
Right.
Is it a megabyte? Is it 100 megabytes? Is it 10 megabytes? How much data can you pack in that? Because based on the type of blockchain it is it for smart contracts? Is it just for transactions? What's the usage level determines exactly how packed that block is going to be.
Effectively, the way that I'm thinking about it from a transaction point of view for a big firm like that, like when we did an order ticket for a client, it would be like name, account number, transaction, like buy, sell, number of shares, date, time, you get the timestamps and stuff, but that's pretty much all you need because all the other CYA stuff is already in the system at a different level. So you're trying to cross the transactions. That's a really small data set, I would imagine. Right. So you could probably be on whatever the cheapest one that wasn't like under regulatory scrutiny, right?
Right. So like if you look at Bitcoin, so its block size is 1 megabyte per 10 minutes, right? Now Ethereum has a block resolution time of 30 seconds. But if you look at it on the 10-minute time scale, it's 8 megabytes per 10 minutes. It's something like 40 kilobytes per 30 seconds or something like that. So it's got a wider pipe, basically, is the best way to look at that. Most of the Turing-complete blockchains, the ones that do smart contracts, are wider pipes, meaning you can, if you're doing simple transactions, fit in way more simple transactions, but they're Turing complete, so most transactions aren't simple. They're complex, executions.
Yeah, I think it is plumbing, right?
Yeah.
Like you've got big pipe leads to a bunch of littler pipes, right?
In a sense, right?
Less data in the smaller pipes, but then you need less things. You're not doing as many. At that point, you're doing something very specific.
Going back to one of the other like nice little rhyming phrases, so it's true. Horses for courses. So
what is it?
Horses for courses.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't put a quarter horse in a rodeo. You don't. You don't like try. Yeah. Bitcoin will never be a great place for NFTs and DeFi because of the size of the pipe and how much like contortions you have to throw yourself into to actually get a smart contract to work. Ethereum's always going to be better. Polygon's going to be even better, right?
And then so on.
Yeah,
right.
Because the Polygon's got a wider pipe, it's got a quicker block resolution time, less participants on it, and it's a layer 2, so it resolves back to Ethereum. All these things, right?
Yeah. I think a simple way to think about it is like a blockchain is literally a block, this, let's say, intangible block.
Of data.
Yeah, it's a block of data. And what happens is when you have some sort of digital information or data, it gets put into this block up until a certain point. Once that block is filled, it is chained to the previous block and vice versa, and so on, So it's very simple. That's how I explain it to people who have no idea about crypto or blockchain. It's literally a block. It puts data. Once it's full, it chains up to the next one. Yeah.
That's awesome. I am curious about something, and this is just something that me and a friend have been like kicking around because we're trying to figure out how to monetize Web3 and AI. Like, who is going to? Is it like the Ernst & Young? Is it the consulting firms that are going to make money first? Because if you're IBM, don't you want to actually talk to a consultant to figure out how you can actually monetize? Like, who actually is the big winner right now, other than NVIDIA? Who is it that's teaching people what they're supposed to do or
It's
like
the
is it
small
consulting
guys, I
or
think,
is it?
right now. It's the small specialized guys who actually understand it and who have this knowledge base that these big companies and small companies want to have. You know, I think a lot of the crypto and Web3 space is filled with consultants. A lot of it is bullshit still. But, you know, these big companies are outsourcing because they don't have any idea. They have the capital, but they don't know how to implement it themselves. I mean, who did IBM partner up with again?
I mean, they've for what particularly?
For the Merck's blockchain thing? Or IBM did it themselves, right?
Yeah, no, that what was it was. Oh shoot, I'm blanking on the name now. Well, they originally it was Hyperledger is the name. Hyperledger was the foundation they created, which was a fork of Ethereum.
Yeah.
But it was basically the internal IBM project. Now it's multi-tenant, but at the time it was pretty much full IBM.
I think the big winners in Web3 are honestly, it's like this. It's like when the internet happened, it was who could create the best use cases for it, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't think that with Web3, it's like, oh, there's going to be some revolutionary thing. I think it's the big players are going to adapt it. They're going to win. And then it's
But who's teaching them? That's my point. Is like, who's teaching them? Are they just people that are slowly going from company to company that said, well, I was over there. I used to do that. Are they getting headhunted away? Or is
I
it,
guess it's small guys
or is it
like
actually
us.
like small guys like us that like then get hired by Ernst &
Small
Young?
nerds who sit there.
It's because it's an
learning.
autodidact dominated industry, right? There, you couldn't go to MIT. Well, if you went to MIT 5 years ago to learn about blockchain, you learned from Gary Gensler. So
Horrible.
if you go to college to learn about blockchain, I don't know.
Maybe don't
Except
go there.
for SMU, it's a fantastic.
Yeah, I know
Because I
here-
taught there as well. So, but anywhere else, forget about it. You know.
I know here in
Stanford?
Dallas, SMU and UT's in Austin, but SMU especially, there's a great professor by the name Simon Mack, and he has a great effort in educating on blockchain and really showing how it solves real world problems, not the the Bitcoin and all the woo woo stuff, but actually how do we apply this new technology to solve current problems in the world.
Okay, I got to give another shameless plug to the Texas Blockchain Council, actually. So Dallas, I'm a student, an enrolled student at Dallas County College.
Okay. Good job.
Thank you. And it's
Congratulations.
because, again, you always need to learn
Absolutely.
something. Always learn. And in the study of learning, I also found out that I could get access to Bloomberg Terminal by being a student at Dallas County
College.
Oh, forget about it.
Which, as we all know,
That's the
is
cheapest access you'll ever get. Dang. Wish I thought of
I'm
that.
going to sign up myself.
so guess what came out, or is coming out, starting in a couple months.
Their AI.
They have a cryptocurrency. They've got like a blockchain crypto certificate they're doing at Dallas County College and all the campuses online. So I'm taking the course. I
And
already
why don't
signed
you
up
hear
for it.
about this?
Well,
Why
you
do-
are now.
Well, you are now. From the small guys, to your
Yeah,
point. I mean,
yeah,
isn't
yeah.
that super interesting? It's like this stuff isn't covered. And so when you ask who are going to be the big winners in crypto and Web3,
Yeah.
I think at the current stage, it is the small guys, the guys who are really nerding out about it and reading up on it, because people are stuck in their ways. They're doing what they're doing, whether it's traditional finance, real estate, arts and crafts, whatever, But I think for me, especially, it's like, look, I was doing real estate. That's what my career path was going to be. I found, crypto because I was trading stocks on Robinhood, just like every other kid my age. And I just started reading about it because I started hearing about it, and I saw all these big players saying this or saying that, and it's like, if it gets this much attention, there has to be something there, right? And so I think there are people who are super interested, who are not necessarily, the big companies, and they just learn, and they have that knowledge base that these big companies don't. So
I feel so bad for you. You actually think that like Web3 is like the end of the line for you from real estate. You are on this cycle of you're an entrepreneur at heart. You are going to go from one technology to one thing to another to another. Once you've mastered it, you're going to make money in something else.
It's fun. I mean, I think that's why I did it too, because like
I will say that, but like also, I mean, I'm a serial early adopter.
Yeah.
But when I found blockchain technology, I will say it was the first time I stuck with a technology long enough for anybody else to care that I knew something that they didn't know about a new technology.
Sure.
Because I was on Twitter in 2006, and I was bored with Twitter when the rest of the world still hadn't found out about it yet.
Yeah.
And same thing with podcasts. I started the world's second podcast hosting company. I hosted 70% of the world's podcasts in the year that it was founded. and I had sold it before Mark Maron had even started his podcast. Wow. So like, you know, it's like I get bored with things really quickly. Blockchain and Bitcoin is one of those things that captured my imagination and kept it.
Yeah, but it's also like, if you think about it, it's crunching more and more numbers. Of course, you're going to fall into that rabbit hole.
It's like Candy Crush Saga.
You can't get to
close
the
it
end.
out.
It's
You know?
Zeno's paradox. You're just going to keep going until you get to the end. There is no end.
That's
well, there's
right.
so many applications of it, right? It could infiltrate literally, quite literally, any and every industry. And I think that was something that really fascinated me, was like, look, like, this technology is going to affect everything. And if you're going to be left behind, you're going to be left behind. And it's the same thing with AI, interestingly enough, right? Oh, yeah. AI is a much bigger deal nowadays because it's way easier to use than quote unquote a blockchain. But if you think about it, the marvel with it is like, it applies to almost everything. You can use AI. I literally, my social media feed is multiple accounts just saying, if you're not using these 10 best AI tools, you're going to get left behind. And it's just a tool for everything you could imagine.
Let me ask you this. I feel like that if you can either use AI or you can learn about AI, but if you try to do both, you're going to get left behind on one of them.
But if you're using AI, are you not inherently learning about it?
No. So like, here, I'll give you an exact, like a very precise example where I feel like I'm already getting left behind, because as you know, like, I'm dealing with AI every single day with what I'm working on for the merge and our back end, right? Mm-hmm. And I am so elbow deep in this project that there has been 3 updates from OpenAI to ChatGPT with regard to how you can write plugins and access plugins that I haven't even had a chance to read the documentation.
Is that recent?
Yeah, it's like in the last week and a half.
Just call Masayoshi-san. Apparently, he's on the phone every day with the guy from OpenAI.
With Altman?
With Altman. Every day they throw the phone every single day.
The red flag guy. Sam Altman is a red flag.
Yes, that's right.
So I did find, by the way, it's the class number is INU 1370. It's Intro to Blockchain and Cryptocurrency. And it's to be announced as who's going to teach it, but it does start October 16th to December 7th.
That's awesome.
At Dallas County. So you guys should take the class with me.
It comes with a Bloomberg terminal.
It comes with a Bloomberg terminal. It doesn't,
How
however.
much is it? Like $60?
I don't. Yeah,
it's
a couple
cheap,
$100
right?
It's a couple $100. Yeah, it's like it's a certificate program, so you can either keep going for 6 classes, or just take the classes to learn.
Yeah.
For me, it's like you, different. I don't code. I'm not that into it, but like, I love macro stuff. I want to learn about agronomy.
Yeah.
I want to learn about everything.
When does it start?
October 16th. It looks like it starts October 16th.
Dude, I'll take it with you. I always want to learn, and this stuff is still evolving. I mean, we're building the foundations of blockchain right now.
Would you want to be that professor knowing that 2 of us have 2 different platforms where we could totally bag on him if he fails us?
That's the risk he's taking. I feel bad for him.
You should teach the course so we don't bag on him.
Shout out all the professors out there getting it rough from us.
Oh, it can't work like that. No financial services company's gonna.
Right.
All right.
All right. Let's
So you want to talk about China?
China. I like that. That's really cool.
Yeah, you can't put this on TikTok now.
So China is absolutely capitalizing on the failures of the U.S. and the SEC. And what I mean by this is China and Hong Kong are encouraging their banks to accept crypto clients. And how I see this is China's been playing a chess game all along, and we're playing checkers. We're over here, worrying about the companies who are running securities and not registering and all this BS. In the meantime, China's capitalizing on this. You know why? Because all these companies, they're going to leave the U.S. These companies are going to go innovate overseas. And it's horrible. There's no other way to put it. It's horrible. It's the U.S. continues to shoot itself in the foot. And ever since the pandemic, and I have no opinions about the pandemic, but we have just been shooting ourselves in the foot here. And forget crypto, man. I mean, the economy, the wages, the cost of living, it continues to get worse and worse for the average person. And what happens when it gets worse for the average person? They suffer and they go somewhere else to find a better life. And it's the same thing for these companies. That's what's happening.
I don't care. I'm not going to China.
Well, I
I'm
mean,
not going
so
to you don't got to go to China, man.
maybe
There's way
maybe you'll
better
go to
places.
the UK, because the UK literally 3 days ago just passed its omnibus crypto regulatory package to define exactly where things lie. Like, who would have believed that the bastions of economic freedom in 2023 would be
Right.
China and the UK?
God, that sounds
What
horrible
is
in the same
going on?
sentence.
Look, this goes back in history, right? I mean, before, like, the great powers that were
Yeah.
lost out because they didn't have natural resources or the resources, right? And now you can be anywhere you want and you have all the resources at your disposal. So it makes, can you imagine an island nation with, that's, has a geographical territory of like nothing compared to like Texas or however big it is? It's like becomes the new dominant power because they actually focused on what? Communication, like the updated, most relevant technology in the history of the world.
Is that happening? Is the U.S. falling like the fall of Rome? Is that happening? Because there's one argument to be made that
It's classic innovator's dilemma.
right, and it seems like there's one argument to be made that the U.S. is falling, but there's another argument to be made that these let's call them powers behind the curtains that I hope don't kill me after I say these things, but these powers, they're very invested in America as a world power. So will they allow this world power to fall like Rome fell?
Well, let's drop it down to a much more reasonable expectation of what an entity is, right? You've got a government, they're all entities, a corporation, an individual. So if we take that down on the individual side of the equation, if I'm a complete moron, but I'm sitting on, $10 million and you're the smartest guy on the planet and you've got $100,000 and you've got $1, like, I can make all the mistakes that I want. You guys are going to try to get my money away from me, but I'm still the idiot with all the money and the power. And that's
Yeah.
what the United States is.
Yeah.
So we can make a lot of mistakes because we still have the best quality of life and the best living
But
environment.
how
more or
long
less.
can they continue?
That
to
I
make
don't know.
mistakes?
Yeah.
That I don't know. That's
Especially
a whole
with the
other side of
recent
equation.
news of all these countries, saying they want to dethrone the U.S. dollar, and they're starting to adopt the Chinese currency, and all the oil makers of the world, they're working towards another currency. I mean, it's really interesting times right now.
Yeah, but local people are still going to spend local currency, right?
But that's the thing, and maybe they won't, because we don't live in a world where local currencies. I mean, like we're headed, like the trend is headed towards federation of currency. I mean, like if I like prior to all the major debankings with like Signature and all this other stuff, if I had a card,
Yep.
I had 3 cards in my wallet. Now I've only got 1 that still works, but I had 3 cards in my wallet that I could spend natively. It is denominated in USD,
Sure.
but it was actually Dogecoin or Ethereum or Bitcoin or Litecoin or whatever I wanted it to be. So, like, I think it makes sense that we'll always think in the local currency.
Yeah,
but
those are.
then-
Yeah, I agree. But those are. You have to think as a human that has so many decisions to make on a daily basis. They don't want to figure out which token they're going to use. They just want to buy a cup of coffee and get into the office.
but
right?
it-
So
but it's
the
which-
pipes that are important, which is what we're talking about, right?
But it like for me, I was doing nothing for the American dollar in terms of propping it up, and it really depends on which currency has the best marketing, and if there's, I mean, like, at some point, like how like they talk about money is speech, money will literally become speech because of the power of what you were talking about today that hasn't come out yet, the meme coins, right? If I believe in Trump coin or if I believe in Shiba Inu, to make it non-political or whatever, I'm going to put my assets in that. But think about the power of Trump coin if that was an actual asset that people could spend on a debit card.
Dude, Gary Gensler coin has outperformed the entire market for like the past couple weeks.
It has.
So this stuff is real. We're living in a different generation and a different time now. But there's no way to tell. Like, I think the biggest problem is all these countries, they want to control and they want the power. And with the Russia-Ukraine war, it's like, what's going to happen? I was
But
literally...
what I'm saying is, with these type of payment rails, the technology exists. Whether or not the banking establishment will allow it to continue to exist remains to be seen. But the technology exists for every American to hold a BRICS dollar, a Bitcoin, or a USD, and it spends the same at 7-Eleven. And they don't have to think about it because they just look at the price in USD and they swipe the card and it deducts the proper, just like it would if you were to use your Visa card in Spain or something.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
So I actually just got this card because I'll be traveling to Europe next week or next month. It's called Wise, and what this company allows you to do is you can put any currency you want. They have like tons of currencies, so you put your $100 in USD. Within seconds, you can convert it to any currency in the world. And I've already done over probably like $200-300, and I'm going to Israel, so I got Israeli shekels. Going to Europe, I got some euros, and it costs nothing. It's literally like cents on the dollar to convert it. I mean, obviously you have the conversion fees and whatever, but the company doesn't charge anything. And it's super cool. I'm not even kidding, within 10 seconds, I can have a US dollar, a pound, I can have a euro, I can have a shekel, I can have a yen, I can have a ruble. It's amazing.
And you use it how?
It's on a debit card. It's a little card you just swipe. I mean,
Okay.
you can't do that with cash, right? With paper money,
PayPal does it though. PayPal has that service too.
So whenever
That's great.
You have to turn it on though.
Yeah, that's huge. Like,
Yeah.
I think that enables a lot. Like, I mean, that makes my life so much more simple. And to your point about they're going to use the local currency, it's like, well, if I have this little device right here and I can use quite literally any currency, just tell me the one that I am used to, and it's $1. I might have a pound, and it'll automatically convert it. You know?
I'm just curious what the break even would be. Like, I would want, like, if I were going with you, I would literally buy 2 of everything, one on a credit card and one with that app, so that you could see how much more or less
Are you
the
spending?
credit card company would charge you for the same transaction. You know, maybe you do that whenever you go to breakfast if you're traveling with someone. Get
good
like
idea.
use that with your debit card or credit card. Actually, use your credit card and then use
The debit card.
The debit card comes with the other thing. And the reason I'm saying that is that most of the time when people are traveling, I always tell them to use their credit card, right? And the reason being, there is a day or a time when they will convert all of their things in a month, and you will get the best transaction. You'll get the best conversion rate that the bank can give you. And so that's going to be better than you timing the market most of the times. But I'd be curious to see if you save money by doing it, using it, and converting it into the shekel or the
So
lira
you're
or
saying
the
that
euro
the
or
credit
something.
card is, when you travel, for the most part, it's better to use because the conversion rate is
handled by somebody who's actually doing the transaction. Like, Visa knows how much money on a daily basis was spent in Russia, right? And they're going to convert from Russian current rubles to American US dollars
right.
in a bulk transaction, or they'll trade around it.
Got it.
So they're going to give you the best rate that you could get.
Interesting. That is
based on your
great
own,
to know.
as far as I know.
That's
But
an interesting concept, like piggybacking off of the incentive they have to get the best conversion.
Yeah,
so
screw the powers.
So if you actually take a look at that, if you think about this on a realistic basis, right now, by doing that, you are fighting that establishment and all those people that are in between that transaction.
Dude, fuck the establishment.
And they don't want.
right?
Yeah, I know you can say that all you want, but tell that to your next door neighbor that works at like some company that accepts Visa, right? Because somehow all that trickles down eventually. Now they're all middlemen and they're all taking money that should have gone to the actual purchaser. But you have to use your tools too. You're moving, if you're going to Israel, who wants to
so
keep track
smart.
of 18 different currencies?
Frank,
if you're
thank
doing
you.
a world view, if you're traveling around 15 different places in 1 month,
Yeah.
use your credit card.
All right. That's
But-
great to know.
If
But then they charge a fee.
yeah.
So does
No,
the
but if your
net
currency,
cost?
if you're like in Africa where there's like 1,500% inflation in a year, maybe that makes sense to do it your way. But I don't know. I just know that.
But let's say I use the credit card, and in any case, I get the best exchange rate. But on top of that, they charge me a $2 fee every transaction because it's a foreign currency fee service bullshit charge.
That's where you do, like, if you use the right tools, the right, what was it, the horse and the thing and
Horses
the
for
dog?
courses, right?
Horses for courses. Like,
and then-
if you're, as a human being, if you're somebody that's, traveling around the world because you can, you're going to have a credit card based on like going to the points guy, and you're going to figure out this credit card is better for flying because they give you buddy points, or they give you the black card gives you
Right.
So horses for courses too. That 3% gets cut up in a bunch of different ways. Like, which program is best for airlines? Well, that's based on the fact that they modeled it best for airlines.
Right.
So use your tools.
Right.
Right.
Shout out the points
if you're
guy.
in a hyperinflationary Zimbabwe is a dated reference. What's a good country right now? I would be using that card.
Venezuela.
Argentina or Venezuela, yeah.
Hey, let's not talk about Venezuela.
Well,
Why?
they're hyperinflationary though right now.
Yeah.
What's up with
I would
Venezuela?
be remiss. We're talking about currency to not bring up the motherland, India. You got anything on that?
Well, they just launched their CBDC yesterday.
So tell us about this. I'm curious. It's always fun to watch because will it work?
So I want to go back this out for 2 seconds anyway. Why is it that they, and really, again, maybe this will be in that course, but why is it that some people are super for or super against CBDCs?
Very few people are super for CBDCs if they know what it is.
Okay.
We were reading.
Don't build a clock. Just tell me what time it is. I just want to know the basics.
That's
if I was an
literally
idiot.
the problem is they're like, oh, I want a federal currency that's digital and can track all of my transactions.
So
that's great.
The people who love CBDCs either work for the government and need to have increased surveillance for their job, or they are just one of those gung-ho, I love America. They would never do anything wrong with the extra surveillance powers, and they probably support the Patriot Act as well.
Slaves to the matrix, as I
Very
like
few
to
people
say.
is what I'm saying. Like very few people that have thought it through. But if you don't know what a CBDC is, you might think, oh yeah, it'd be good for us to update our currency. But if you understand what blockchain is and what a CBDC is, CBDC is basically blockchain with a kill switch and extra surveillance.
Got it. Yeah, got it. Okay.
It's a disguise for government control and invasion of privacy. And
Would it be helpful for every one of these countries to have their own CBDC, and then there would be some third-party private app like PayPal that allows you to transfer, without it, right? Maybe that gives the countries a false or a decent sense of security for the dumb people that don't know how it works to, I don't know.
Imagine this.
Trying to come up with a way
Yeah.
for this to be registered and for blockchain to be more adopted for transactions with, some pretty built-in securities and safeguards so that like nobody controls anybody's money.
So, I mean, first of all, we already have that with legitimate blockchain, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody controls that, so we're safer. But think about
Except you might go to prison for having it.
Wink,
I mean,
wink.
small problems, right?
nudge, nudge. Wait, before you continue though, I do want to mention that with CBDCs also, if you think there's a big issue with printing money nowadays, I mean, imagine when it's digital and it's literally a computer, press backspace and then enter whatever digit you want, and then
But
they
at
print.
least you wouldn't be able to like fake it, right? There wouldn't be.
Well,
no,
of course you
but
could.
but the point is the inflation.
The government could again. I mean, I don't know.
You can, of course, you can fake it because there's no obligation for them to have actual blockchain technology. They can just call it blockchain.
Yeah, to my knowledge, they're not, for the most part, not blockchain. That's the India one. It was interesting. You said they say it is.
Yeah, I'll send you this graphic. This is literally what was sent to some Reserve Bank of India clients like 3 days ago. I'll send this to you. You can pop it up on the screen. So
Frank, I think you missed. Did you miss the Auto GPT convo, or you were?
I did. No, I missed it.
Okay,
Yeah, I missed
well,
it.
you missed someone at this table saying that you could tell Auto GPT to change that number in the CBD or in the digital currency that Mark was saying, backspace.
Well, it's not even about an AI or anything. My point is that, look, at any given moment, the U.S. government's like, okay, we're about to print $2 trillion.
Yeah.
And then they press a button and the printer does whatever it does.
Right.
What I'm saying is if this is digital, there's no printer involved. There's no, oh, we're printing $2 trillion. We're literally, there's $2 trillion now. It's done. It's done in a millisecond.
Well, but to me, the more troubling parts are, to your point about like if there's intermediaries, is it's a bit like if your money can be seized at any point, much more easily than they currently can be seized. Right. Right now, the biggest threat to financial freedom is being locked out of banking. But if you have money and you know how the banking system works, you can move it to protect it by putting it in different jurisdictions. If it's controlled by a central database and a central computer, which is what a CBDC implies, if it's in Venmo, if it's in PayPal, or if it's in the
just
bank,
turn it off,
Swiss bank, it's turned off. It doesn't matter who is custodying your funds.
Scary stuff.
Disincentive for bad behavior. But you know they'll never use it.
But I mean, look
That's why they never use it, right?
look at my situation though. Like,
Sure.
I was not doing anything that you shouldn't be able to do with normal money when I was doing this stuff with Bitcoin, and I accidentally fell afoul of signing a piece of paper, and I got sent to prison for 6 months. So don't tell me you can't accidentally fall afoul of a Venmo transaction and have all of your money seized. In fact, we saw it last year in Canada. People that sent as little as $5 to the Ottawa trucker protest via GoFundMe
we saw that. Yeah,
had their entire retirement seized.
Oh, that's scary. That's
By
why
the
we
Bank of
can't
Canada.
have a CBDC, because it's like,
They can't be trusted with this amount of control. Why
Right.
would we give them more?
right.
Mark, tell Frank about like the China video we did. How like you can be fined for jaywalking.
Yeah, so in China, they have this thing called the Wall of Shame. And basically, if you are fined, if you break any sort of rule that the government has, which could be, quite literally anything, they will lock your digital wallet, or how they have, their money is digital now because they have a central bank digital currency. And so if you break any law, they will literally lock your funds, lock your money, and put you on a wall of shame saying this person did X, Y, or Z. They have no access to their money. They have no access to any of their finances. And until they, pay this fine or pay their reparations, whatever that might be, they have no access to their funds, and they're on this wall of shame in China. It's real. Like, you can look it up. It's fucking disgusting. I'm sorry to curse, but
don't do anything wrong.
It's quacking disgusting.
like that's ever happened.
Yeah.
But we've talked about CBDCs. Mark, Hopkins, I guess everyone. What do you think of if it is blockchain-based technology? What do you think this India thing?
Let's just clarify it.
So this is what was sent out to the Reserve Bank. What we got on the screen
Yeah.
here.
Let's just clarify though, okay? It's just like it's FDA approved or all organic plant-based bullshit. This stuff, because it's labeled, no, I'm very passionate about this stuff because I think governments are horrible. But when this stuff is labeled like this, it's because they use very specific wording that allows them to get away with it, where you can have an organic product that's 99% not organic, but because it has one ingredient or one thing that goes on the guidelines, they can claim it's organic. So I would assume 100% that this blockchain-based technology is just some very minimal use of blockchain in one way or another that allows them to label it as this, and it gets all the people excited, and they have no idea.
Blockchain based. It's like, do we even know what the McDonald's hamburger is made of yet?
It's a meat based.
No, the plant-based one is the best, because the plant-based foods, not to offend anyone if you guys like that stuff, but it is quite literally the worst food that you can have. If you look at the ingredients, it has nothing to do with plants. It's
Pea
all
protein. Yeah.
it's horrible. It's horrible.
Yeah.
It's like you look at meat, it's like 99% meat, 1% whatever. You look at plant-based, it's like 1% of this, 10% of that, 20% of this, 1% of that. It's like crazy.
Talk about a disappointing burger experience. I went across the road to this American, I can't remember what the name of it is over there. Probably good because it's not going to be a good review. And I ordered the barbecue burger.
Is this Arby's? Are you talking about
No,
Arby's?
no.
right
I'm
now?
talking, it's like a mom and pop joint across the street, and they gave me a bean burger.
Oh my god, you told me when that day. Yeah.
I was eating it. I was like, this does not taste like the best barbecue I've ever had. Like, I'm looking down on my receipt. It says bean burger. I'm like, what? This is not at all what
My
I
question
ordered.
is, how did you get that far where you ate the entire bean burger and then realized you weren't eating
I
a
was in the internet. I wasn't paying attention. So.
Did you pay with a crypto based?
It was a
crypto-based credit
It was a
card?
blockchain-based, yeah.
Not a sponsor,
That
but
was
if you
funny.
want to be, please contact us at Harper Belmont Media.
Mark, you get like 2 meals a week that aren't at the halfway house.
Yeah.
You get a bean burger.
So yeah, so this currency issue. I mean, I think the real difficulty is just, again, everyone we knows is control. And I love what you said about the government is the antichrist. It's great until it's pointed at you. Literally, any time that you are if you fall afoul of the government in any way, shape, or form, if they have your name, your number, it sucks. Like, no one wants it. But if you don't run afoul of it, if you're just a normal, ordinary human that doesn't do anything sketchy, you still might get screwed, right?
Dude,
Because it's any time that it's it's pointing at
It's
you.
the Eye of Sauron.
Yeah, because they've got to justify their existence, right? It's like, well, how many people did I put in jail?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, I've spent a lot of time on video here talking about it, but I honestly feel like this is the primary reason why I went down. It's not because, I mean, it was part of a larger crypto initiative I found out later, but also it felt like the guy that was coming after me, like they rolled 15 agents to my house. They had to justify the expense.
Sure.
So like, oh, we spent this much money on the raid and the research. We got to put them away for something.
I will never
Yeah,
forget.
100%.
I was at this meeting, and there was just a bunch of guys there, and there was one cop there. He was talking. He was like, "Look, it's a Thursday night. It's 6:00, and it's beautiful outside, and I see you speeding. I might pull you over, and I might not give you a ticket. But if it's raining outside, and you're speeding, and you make me pull you over,
100% getting a ticket.
you're getting a ticket,
Yeah.
and you may go to jail." You know what I mean?
I don't even like talking about this stuff. I feel like today I've talked way more than I usually do about just calling this stuff out, because it's like I don't want to be on any list either, and it's like you say the wrong thing, and
I got bad news for you, man. Just being my friend puts you on a list. So.
Freedom of speech, brother.
I'd rather be your friend.
Freedom
than
of
not, so.
speech, brother. Freedom of speech.
What
This
does
is the
that
whole
mean
thing.
nowadays, though?
Well,
Truly.
look, it really means what you want, and
What is?
I
how
like
do
to
you
say
even mean?
I hate everybody, right? Like I'm not prejudiced. I'm not.
Right.
I'm not like people. Like I'm half Colombian, half Russian.
Yeah.
Right. I grew up in East Plano here before it was cool to be ethnic. So
You
like,
don't find too many Colombian Russians out here.
I don't see myself as anything.
Yeah.
I'm just
A human
me
being.
trying to get through the world, not trying to have a nickname or
Yeah.
a ethnicity.
Yeah.
Stop making me.
Yeah.
You know?
It's interesting. We're definitely derailing from our usual conversations, which we often do, and I love it because we talk about human nature a lot. But, I was even on my drive here, there's homeless people by the area that I live, and it's like, what have we come to as a society to, really just dehumanize and alienate people just in any way, shape, or form, whether that's, homeless people or racist people, or at the end of the day, we're all humans, if this person has money, that person has money, it doesn't matter. Like, it's like we're all
Wait,
just,
what are we doing to alienate racist people?
no, sorry, not alienate racist people. I meant racist people are alienating other people. Right? Is that
Yes.
the political? Yeah, that's what I meant, to clarify before any
No, I'm
comment.
sorry.
Send your letters. So, well, no, but so the NC, I worked for this research group called the NCRI, the Network Contagion Research Institute, and we did a couple reports on crypto and DAOs and stuff like that. It was pretty interesting. But before that, I think a couple years before that, they had done this report. Actually, it was almost like a year, maybe 2 years before, because it was talking about they were trying to analyze why people were having a visceral reaction to vaccine being chosen to use the vaccine, or being told to use the vaccine.
That's the
Walmart,
worst one, man.
Walmart wanted to know because Walmart had their own public health concerns, right? We want to. I mean, they look at everything in terms of the bottom line, right? They hire senior citizen greeters so that they can put life insurance on them, so when they croak, they can get some money, right? So
Totally. For those of you who want to buy a policy, corporate-owned life insurance, if you work for Walmart and you want me to do those policies for you,
Plug them up.
But
Plug 'em up.
So they were looking at it from a public health perspective on getting people to take the COVID vaccine and why were people having a visceral reaction. And it turns out that we as a culture, because of social media and the internet, we don't regard people when they disagree with us as human beings. We regard them as avatars of their argument. And so the way that Walmart short-circuited this, using some research from the NCRI, was they brought people in and treated them as humans as they asked them why they didn't feel like, why were they on this side of the fence, and here's some evidence, take it or leave it, this is what our perspective is, and they conversed at a human level, and they had something like an 80% uptick in vaccine acceptance.
Yeah, it's interesting how different people are behind the computer screen. I mean, even for myself, I feel myself, when I'm interacting online, I'm completely different than how I am in person. It's crazy.
When I was teaching, So I have pretty strong opinions, and I, like all of us, fall victim of what Mark just said about the avatar thing. But when you're teaching, you have to approach it like, I can't believe the sentence is about to come out of my mouth. You have to approach it like Walmart did. Never mind. Hold on.
Well,
No atheist.
well, so like a thing that I like to say for me is where because I get excited by learning new things.
Yeah.
There's a dopamine rush that hits your brain when you figure out something new.
Yeah.
And where my life changed in terms of losing that joy for debate is that I realized that you cannot learn something new unless you're wrong about something.
Yeah.
Oh, that brings up what I say all the time. All the time. I have plenty of experience. Experience is what you get when you don't get what you want.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to have, and that's why it's really important to learn from other people's experiences so you don't have them yourself.
Absolutely.
Experience is not a good thing.
But right. But like being able that it was like a transformative experience for me is to be able to go, hey, I need to be wrong more so I can
Yeah.
experience this little pleasure canyon in my brain getting scratched by learning something new. Learning something new only comes when I'm wrong. Please show me how I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Well, I think this is a great place to stop.
Yeah. Also because we've just crossed over the 1 hour mark, so it's a great place to stop. Thank you for hanging out with us. There was quite a few bit more of you hanging out live with us today, so that was cool. Come back again next week, and we'll do the same thing.
Thanks, everyone.
Drum roll, please.
Hey, thanks for watching The Merge. We've got a ton more stuff for you to watch on YouTube, on Instagram, on TikTok, everywhere. Check us out.